Alright, so the question of the day is my snake a male or a female? And let me tell you, if you're new into snakes, it is pretty difficult to figure out the males and the females, and sometimes even breeders get it wrong. And as a matter of fact, the only way to really, truly determine the males and the females, you really can't look at a snake. There's really nothing on the outside of a snake, especially with ball pythons, that you can actually see if it's a male or a female. So, for example, Bobby here around my neck, if he didn't know his name, and I just showed you the snake, and I say, hey, guess if this is a male or female, there's no way that you can guess just by looking at the snake if this is, you know, trying to figure out if it's male or female. So really, the only way you can do it is in the pocket of the tail. This is like the business end right here. And essentially what you can do, there's actually two ways you can do it. Most people, I'd say probably most of the older breeders, they actually, what they do is they put pressure right on the tail, like right here, and kind of peel this back right here. And if you put pressure right here, essentially what happens is two little finger-like projections come out if it's a male, and those are the hemipenes. And if it's a female, they don't actually pop out at all. And the problem is I actually was at a reptile show, and I was talking to one of the vets there. They actually had a table set up at the reptile show with the exotic animal veterinarian, and she knew everything about snakes and turtles and tortoises and everything. And I actually asked her, you know, if it's okay to actually pop the hemipenes out with your fingers and putting pressure on there. And she said, absolutely never ever pop the hemipenes by putting pressure on the snake, because you can actually hurt the snake. And as a matter of fact, I've actually heard a lot of people have come up to my table and said, hey, I have the snake and I was pressing on the tail and pressing and pressing, and I don't know if it's a female or if I'm just not pressing hard enough. And that is the danger, is if you don't really know what you're doing and you start pushing on the tail really hard, if it's a female and nothing comes out, that's normal. But then you start thinking, well, maybe I'm just not doing it right, and you start pressing harder and harder, and you can potentially seriously injure the snake by pressing on the tail, trying to pop those hemipenes. So as soon as I heard that and she said never do it, I decided then I'm never gonna actually pop the hemipenes. I've actually done it on some smaller snakes before, and let me tell you, you have to put almost more pressure than I'm comfortable with actually popping out the hemipenes. It takes quite a bit of pressure. So the way you're supposed to do it is you're actually supposed to use a probe kit. And I actually have a probe kit, and I use it to figure out all my males and females. And I have a whole bunch of hatchlings in the rack, and I'm gonna go through today and I'm gonna show you how to probe and figure out the males and the females. And I'm kind of interested too. And the one thing that really threw me off my very first year breeding is if you actually take the smallest probe and try to put it in the tail pocket of the snakes, a lot of times the smallest probe is a little too big for some of the snakes, and it doesn't go all the way in with the males, and it can trick you. As a matter of fact, the first year I think I got a lot of my males and my females mixed up, and I actually held back a whole bunch of snakes, and then a few months later I went back and double checked, and sure enough I had quite a few that were incorrect. And this year what I'm doing is I'm not even figuring out the males and the females until they've eaten quite a few meals, and I have quite a few hatchlings in here that have eaten quite a few meals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, pull those out, figure out the males and the females. I thought I'd bring you along, and I'll show you how to use the probe kit. Alright, so I have to warn you, this can be pretty easy and quick, and sometimes it can be pretty difficult. So this is my probe kit here. It has a variety of sizes for different size snakes. So for a really big snake, you use something like this with a really big knob on the end of it. And then essentially for these tiny ball pythons, I use the tiniest, smallest little probe. It is a really small, tiny probe. And then what I use with that is I use this personal lubricant gel. It's just kind of a water-based lubricant is perfectly fine. Then you just put a little bit on the end of the probe, just like that. And then this snake over here, he's looking like he's a little snappy. He's actually in shed. And let's see if I can actually snap him out of this kind of mean biting mode here. And the thing you really don't want is you don't want the snake to start running, because if they start running, then it is really difficult to try to actually get the probe in the tail pocket. And sometimes it's really hard to get them to relax, and sometimes it is really easy. And essentially what you do is you just put it right in the tail pocket right here. And if it goes way in, it is a male. So this one went in this far. You see it went in this far. This is definitely a male because it went in really far. And you can see this is a decent sized hatchling. So once they get this big, nice and big, this one has, let's see, I actually marked on the end of the tub how many meals. Well, actually, this one's eaten over 6 meals. So it's had, this one's probably had between 8 and 10 meals. It's nice and big, and then it's really easy to probe when they're this size. So this one is definitely a male. So what I'm gonna do is I wanna get my label maker, and as we go through these, I wanna mark these male or female. All right, so what I do between snakes is I just kind of wipe off the probe a little bit and add some fresh lubricant. That last snake, his name was Monty. It was a pastel. And this one is actually Boots, which is a bamboo. And I'm gonna see if I can figure out if Boots is a male or a female. This guy's looking really big. He's actually just eaten 4 meals. So he's a really good looking snake. He's a really reduced bamboo. And let's see how this one goes, if I can figure out if this is a male or a female. And this one is a little bit tense still. And what I do is I gently go in and out and in and out, make sure that they are relaxed. So this one, take a look at this one. This one only went in that far, that little tiny bit, which means this is a female. I've actually been thinking about holding back a female bamboo to breed with Bobby. That would be pretty cool. Then I can actually hit the super bamboo. The super bamboo is an all-white snake with blue eyes, and anything I breed it to would be 100% bamboos in the whole clutch. That would be pretty awesome. All right, so this snake's name is Yoda, another bamboo, and both these bamboos are possible pastel. And I'm not really sure if they're pastel. I'd say pastels and bamboo combos are really tough. And I'm really waiting until I get more bamboos hatched out, and then I can kind of compare them side by side. This is a really reduced bamboo as well. This one's actually had 5 meals, so it's doing really well. So let's see if we can probe this one real quick. And sometimes it looks like this one might actually, it looks like it might actually start running. That's the hard part if they start running. And this one, oh, you can see it went way in there. Look at how far that one went in. That is really far. This one is definitely a male bamboo. Once I reach this size, it is really easy to probe them. It goes really quick. All right, so this one is named Nugget. It is a super bright pastel, and I'm not sure if I want to hold this one back or not. Actually, if it's a female, I might actually hold this one back. I want to show you how bright this one is. This one is exceptionally bright. Look at how that thing just glows like you wouldn't believe. It is really amazing. And I want to probe this one, see if it's a male or female. I'm hoping for a female in this one. I'm not sure if I want to hold this one back. I have so much I want to hold back. I actually have those triple heads, 6 of them I want to hold back, and then a scaleless head lesser that I want to hold back. So I'm not sure if I can actually find room for this one. This is a really impressive snake. And you can tell this one is really kind of still tense. So really they have to really relax. You don't want to push too hard when you're doing this. And this one is definitely a female. I think. It's relaxing a little bit more. No, it's a female. It's definitely a female. It's not going in. Usually what I do is I push the probe in and out a few times and just kind of let the snake relax and make sure I actually get it all the way in there. I just don't do it once. I do it multiple times to make sure. But that snake is so bright. It is so incredible. I can't even believe it. This is, you know, since it's a female, I might actually keep this snake. This is really crazy looking. That is a really awesome snake. It's pretty amazing. Alright, so next up is a normal. His name, or her name, is Pepper. And I kind of went with kind of generic names on some of these snakes. So if they were one or the other, Pepper would still work for a male or female. So take a look at this. This is as normal as you can get for a normal. There's no hets, no possible anything in here. It's just a straight normal. So let's take a look at this one. This tail on this one seems like it's really small, but it's eaten 5 meals. So I'm thinking it's probably okay to probe at this point. So you can get a good probe on this one. So it's definitely not going in that far. And this snake is super relaxed. This is definitely a female. Pepper is a female. That's pretty cool. Alright, so this snake is named Fluffy, and if you're wondering how a snake can be fluffy, you have to actually name it Fluffy for a snake to actually be fluffy. So this is another normal, no hits or anything. This one is actually eaten 6 meals, and the cool thing is on a lot of these, I pretty much start with live mouse crawlers, and they get to the point where they're pretty much this big, and then I switch over to a small live rat that's about, it has hair on it, but it's about as thick as the thickest part of their body. And I actually went through and fed rats, and half of them actually ate rats. And this one, whoa, that's going way up in there. It went way up in there. So this one went pretty far. This is definitely a male. Females go about half that. So you see, it's really easy once you get the hang of it, and it helps that these snakes are really relaxed too. Okay, so we named this one Yuki, and this is just a straight lesser, no other genes in there. And it's a pretty awesome snake. I have to say, I love these lessers. Take a look at that, how bright that is. That is crazy. And this one, I'm not really looking to hold back a lesser. I actually have a scaleless head lesser that I definitely want to probe and see if it's male or female. This one I'll definitely be selling either at the shows or on the internet. This one, you can tell it is super tense. And when they're tense, they're really hard to kind of probe. This one is definitely a male. That one way in there. That is a really cool looking male lesser. Alright, so on this one, this is actually the one I'm going to keep, the one I'm going to hold back for sure, 100%. This is my scaleless head lesser ball pythons. So the interesting thing is when they have the scaleless head, it kind of changes the color. You see, this one has quite a bit more lightning than the other one. So it's a little bit lighter in color than the other one. And this one, I'm not really hoping one way or the other for male or female. So if it's a female, I can add it to my collection to actually lay eggs, but it's going to be probably 3 years. Oh yeah, look at that. That one. What do you think that is? That is definitely a male, which is really good. Actually, I definitely prefer a male, because essentially what I can do with this is I could breed it back to a lesser. I actually have 2 lessers, so I don't necessarily have to breed it back to the mom, although that's really not frowned upon in the ball python industry. You can interbreed, and it's really not an issue unless you go for, like, you know, 20 or 30 generations down, and then, you know, you might run into problems. I think a lot of the problems with the albinos is severe inbreeding. For the last 20 years, everyone's breeding back to essentially the same albinos that we found in the wild. But usually I'd say with reptiles you don't really have to worry about inbreeding, so potentially I could breed this back to its mom or my other lesser, and then, you know what I would get a scaleless head blue-eyed leucistic, which is one step closer to the totally scaleless blue-eyed leucistic. So if I actually got one of those and got a female, I'd have to actually grow up a female at some point and then breed it back to this, and you get scaleless head with crossed with the scaleless head, and then you'd finally get the totally scaleless blue-eyed leucistic. Another thing I was thinking about doing with this is actually breeding it to my albino. I could get a scaleless head lesser het albino, and if I get a male and a female, I could cross those together and get a red-eyed leucistic all white snake that's totally scaleless with red eyes. I think it would have red eyes because the albinos have red, although it would be a blue-eyed leucistic, so I'm not sure how the blue eyes and the red eyes would interact. If you'd end up with like a green-eyed leucistic or something, that would be a really interesting project. Alright, so this next one is named Boomer. It is just a straight normal, and of course the normals always sell the best at the reptile shows. It's pretty much the cheapest snake you can get as far as a ball python, and I'm not sure on the prices yet, and probably what I'll do is I'll probably sell first at the Denver Repticon here in October, and then after that show, whatever I have left, I will sell online, probably on Morph Market. Let's take a look at this one. This one is actually definitely a male. And it's kind of unfortunate. I'd say these are kind of a hard sell, except for pets. You know, most people looking for normals as breeders, they want females, because I actually have 4 female normals in my collection, and I produce quite a few bamboos. And you know, you can actually have a bamboo lesser that's a blue-eyed leucistic, so if I bred it to a female normal, I get half bamboos and half lessers. But a male normal, normally not used for breeding in most cases, unless you're trying to prove out like a multi-gene female and you don't really know the genes. Alright, so I have to say this is almost as exciting as hatching out some ball python eggs, because when you're hatching them out, you really don't know what morphs you're going to get, and in this case, you don't really know what gender you're going to get. It's like the other half of the excitement for ball pythons. And this guy is a little snapper. Let me see if I can get him out. If they start snapping, the best thing you can do is really just kind of hold their head down under, because if they have their head out, they tend to snap a little bit more. And you know, you can really usually break them out of the snapping pretty easy. And I've been finding that just laying them right here on the paper towel with their tail kind of curled up here seems to be working really well. Normally I try to hold them up in the air, and that seems like it's a little bit more difficult. Let's see what this one is. This one is definitely a male, another male normal. If anybody's looking for a really good pet, these male normals would be perfect. Alright, so this one is named Cupcake, and I realized that Cupcake might be more of a girly name. I was hoping this one's actually a girl, because I'm not sure I want a boy named Cupcake. I think that'd be pretty funny. Well, let's see. This one's actually just a normal scaleless head. So this one has some scales missing from the top of the head. If you breed 2 of the scaleless heads together, you actually get a totally scaleless ball python, which is pretty cool. You breed a scaleless head to a normal, half the babies come out scaleless head. And let me tell you, that's probably one of the best. I mean, if you want a male breeder, as far as the breeding potential, you know, for a female, it'd be good, but you have to have, you know, you have to wait several years, and the scaleless project is coming down really fast. Really, what you'd really want right now is a male. Well, a lot of people are actually buying the females and holding on to them, hoping to get the totally scaleless. So right now it seems like everybody has the scaleless head, because it really hasn't been on the market that long, and you don't see a lot of females being produced to where they actually can produce a lot of the totally scaleless ball pythons. And let's see if I can probe this guy. This one's actually had 4 meals. And there you have it. Cupcake is a male. I guess you can have a boy named Cupcake. Well, this guy has got a pretty funny name. Alright, so I actually have another just straight scaleless head with no other genes in the mix. As a matter of fact, there are some people asking about my scaleless heads. They actually wanted to buy them, and I decided to hold on to my females that I have left. So if you're interested in a scaleless head, I'd say the Denver Repticon here in October 2019. I'll definitely have these guys for sale. These just straight scaleless heads with no other genes in the mix. So let me show you this one, and we'll give it a quick probe. Figure out if this one is male or female. And let's see if I can. So far I haven't really had a snake that was running, which is really fortunate. This one, so this one almost tricked me. So when it just a little bit, and the snake was tense, and that is the tricky part about probing it, because if they're tense and it only goes in a little bit, and then it can kind of fool you. So I'd say if you're buying a female, there's a chance that it could potentially be a male. It's usually not the other way around. If the probe goes really far in, or if you pop them and you see the hemipines, there is no question. Usually when people label them as a male, it is definitely a male. Usually if you're buying a female, there's a slight chance that you can have the incorrect gender on your snake. Okay, so I'm not sure I mentioned the name on the last one. That was actually Ziggy. That was a male. It looks like I'm creating a lot of males with my breeding project this year. I'd say a lot of people come up to my table and they're like, I'm looking for a female something or other, and a lot of times I'll have a lot of males. Usually it's 50-50, I'd say, males to females. but it seems like the females sell faster, which is kind of interesting. This one is just a straight lesser, really good looking. These lessers are really beautiful. This one will definitely be at the show. This one is eaten, let's see, how many is this one eaten? This has had 4 meals, so it's definitely well started, I would say. Let's see if I can get to the tail here. Let me zoom up a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Let's see here. This one is super, super tense. You got the tail all twisted around too. Let's see, let's see. This is actually working really well, just kind of holding them on the table. And you can see this one is super tense. The tail is rock hard. You really have to just kind of let them relax and then see if it goes further in. This one is, I'm thinking this one's a male. So this one, I'm not exactly sure on this one. So this one, so that's almost almost halfway. I'd say this is a male with a question mark. I'd say probably what I want to do with this one, I'm not really confident that the probe went far enough to guarantee 100% sure that this is a male. So what I'm going to do is put a male on the little sticker on the tub with a question mark, meaning I should come back and verify this before I sell it. Alright, so this snake, its name is Bubbles, and it is a pinstripe, 100% het desert ghost. I had some really good success breeding my desert ghosts to my lemon blast, and I produced these snakes. Take a look at this one. This is one of my favorite morphs, the pinstripe. Just a really solid gold snake. It's really awesome. Mixes really well with a lot of different combos. The lemon blasts, and I actually hit the super blast, which is a super pastel pinstripe, 100% het desert ghost. And this guy looks like he wants to run. That's kind of why I'm kind of holding him down a little bit. It looks like he wants to take off, and once they start running, it is really hard to probe them. Let's take a look at this one. This one is this one is kind of weird. It is really loose down here, which is really weird. But it's not really going in that far, and it's pretty relaxed. Just going on a little bit. This is a female, which is pretty awesome. That is a really powerful breeder. A good looking snake too. Alright, so I have another pinstripe, 100% het desert ghost. And this one actually is essentially exactly the same as the other one. It's a sibling. And this one is named Hunter. Really good looking snake. These are beautiful pinstripes. And I would say the pinstripes probably go, I'd say probably one of the first snakes to sell at the shows. People are always looking for pinstripe, especially that it's het desert ghost. I would think there'd be quite a few people interested in snakes like this. And that's kind of the reason I produced them this year. Last year I didn't see any het desert ghost stuff at the show. And this one is definitely a male. Look at how far that went in there. It went really far in there. Whoa, this guy's taking off. So that is definitely a male. Alright, so this one is named Striker. This is just a straight pastel, 100% het desert ghost. And you can see on this one, if you compare this one to my other pastel, you'll see this is a pretty bright pastel, but let me tell you, it is nothing like my other pastel. I've hatched out pastels before, and I'd say every single one are probably as bright as this one. You compare this to the other one, let me tell you, it's day and night. I think the other one is a completely different line of pastel that came from maybe my other female, which is pretty amazing. And then this one, let's see if I can probe this one. Going in just a little bit. This is definitely a female. So, you know, a lot of people are looking for females. This would be an awesome breeder. Alright, so this one is named Raven. This is actually a lemon blast, 100% het desert ghost. And the lemon blast is pastel and pinstripe. in the same mix. So take a look what happens when you mix the pastel with the pinstripe. You get a lemon blast, which is really breaks up the pattern, keeps the yellow. These lemon blasts are really awesome. So let's see if this one is male or female. It'll be kind of interesting to see on this one. And so far, this has been going really good. Let's see if I can keep up my track record without these snakes actually running. Once they start running, it's almost impossible to actually probe them, because if they won't stand still, it gets pretty crazy pretty fast. And it's all about positioning the tail. If you can keep them on the ground here, it seems like it really, on the table, it really works really well. This has been working really good. This is definitely a male. So this is a male Lemon Blast 100% Het Desert Ghost. Alright, so this one is named Chewy. This is actually the crown jewel. This is the second snake that I'm holding back so far. Well, actually, I have a whole clutch of triple hets that are albino clown pieds. So I'm holding back all 6 of those, and then I'm holding back the scaleless head lesser, and then I'm holding back this one. This is actually a super pastel pinstripe 100% Het Desert Ghost. So you know what I'm shooting for. I guess it doesn't matter if it's a male or female. If it's the weird thing is once you start getting further into breeding and you have so many snakes, I think I have like probably like 50 snakes that I'm breeding, and it gets to a point where you don't really care if it's a male or female. The females lay eggs, but the males I could breed a lot faster. So actually I have a visual Desert Ghost male and female, so it doesn't really matter either way if this is a male or female. Usually you have more females than males, but it's going to be a long-term wait if this is actually a female. If it's a male, I could probably breed it by the end of next year. But everybody, you know, you need a certain number of females to actually... This is actually a male. I think I'm going to do it one more time just to be sure. He was starting to run a little bit. I'm pretty sure this was a male. This is definitely a male. It went in pretty far, which is pretty cool because I can actually breed this next year back to my, so it's actually a pastel spider Desert Ghost female, and if I breed it back to this, I will get pastel, super pastel, pastel spider, super pastel spider, pastel lemon blast, super pastel lemon blast, super blasts, a super blast with the spider, and all of them will be visual. Well, actually half of them will be visual Desert Ghost, because this is just Het Desert Ghost. So it'd be quite a bit of hatchlings popping out of this, with you know, this being a male breeding back to my female visual, and that female visual is pretty impressive. So I'm definitely going to hold this one back and breed it out next year. And really the potential is better for this one, so I can actually grow this one up, breed it back next year, and then if I get a female and hit all the genes, which would be the super pastel pinstripe spider Desert Ghost visual, then I can actually hold that back and unload this guy and use that one as a future breeder. But let me tell you, once you start breeding a snake, whether it's a male or a female, you start producing awesome results. It is always really difficult to sell your breeders because they're up to size and you can use them in your whole color palette of breeding. Alright, so those were my hatchlings that have eaten at least 4 meals, and I'd say all the other ones that I have in my hatchling rack have either had 0 meals or just 1. And really I like to wait until they've had a few meals into them. They start growing really fast, and I think the tail pocket gets a little bit bigger, and it's a lot easier to probe them when they have some weight on them. And I've actually had some people come up to me at the show and they wanted me to probe their snakes at the show. I've actually done that, and I've actually also expressed my concern about, you know, especially in my first year when I wasn't sure if I actually got the gender right on some of my hatchlings. I said, really, I think you should buy a probe kit and actually probe your snakes. And sure enough, some people bought a probe kit and they went through and probed all their snakes and found out that some of the other snakes that they bought from other breeders were actually, you know, it had the incorrect gender associated with them when they were selling them online. So you definitely have to watch that. Sometimes the male or the female, one or the other, can be worth a lot lot more or a lot less depending on the morph. Sometimes, you know, everybody's like, when the scaleless head came out, everyone wants the males because they want to breed it through their collection and get a bunch of scaleless heads. And now that the scaleless head prices have come down quite a bit, everybody's thinking about the totally scaleless ball pythons. And really that is a waiting game with the female. So now everyone's thinking, all right, I need female scaleless heads so I can grow them up and get into the totally scaleless ball python game. And it's kind of interesting how it comes and goes in cycles. Sometimes everybody wants males and sometimes it's the females. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching and I will see you next time.